Hey, this is John Duggan, and you're watching WithoutYourHead.com.
All right, and we're live here at the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neal, and I'm joined by Robert and Mariella Perez. It's very cool to have you both here.
Hello, hello.
Yes, two of my favorite people.
Oh, you're one of our favorite people.
It was awesome to meet you guys in person.
It's so weird. I think back on that, and when we finally all got to meet, that was like right before the pandemic went out of control here. And when we were in the hotel at the Loft, we were getting updates on a regular basis, which was kind of crazy and surreal all the time. It seemed like something far away. We even had one of our guests that his hometown was Wuhan, China, and we were getting. He would pose the questions to us, such as, "Has the United States ever shut down an entire city?" Mm-hmm. And we just all looked at him, going,
"Like, yeah,
that's science fiction. It's never going to happen here." Next thing you know, we have everything happening, and the nation is closing down in various different ways. And it was just so weird that, here we are all celebrating together, and then you guys were all filming a movie.
Yeah, just like 2 weeks after that.
Yeah.
And then it was literally like the week after when everything started to shut down.
Yeah, it is so weird. And now we're all kind of in this, for us, as when it comes to the film festivals, we're wondering, is this the new norm? The virtual festivals. I mean, the drive-ins are kind of popping up or springing up wherever they can. And you had a Severed Limbs festival, and that was great.
Yeah, it was a bigger turnout than I expected. It was a really good time, and what I liked about it is what I like about the festivals is it's cool to watch movies at home, but you don't have the interaction with everybody. And so, at least, this way we could watch with other, people into weird movies, and you can interact with them. So it's definitely cooler to be in person, but, we can't currently. So it was the next best thing, I think.
I thought it was really cool being able to interact with each other, like live as we're watching.
Yeah.
You're going to have to be quiet. But it was just really neat to do it while
You're cutting up on us, unfortunately, Mariella.
up on y'all.
No, there you go. But I think we got the gist of it. But yeah, it was fun to watch with everybody, definitely. And it was really cool because afterwards, you probably had the same experience as both the people that were just watching the movies and the filmmakers were all like really happy because they got this people who made stuff. It was seen by people who might not get to see it otherwise, and everyone who was just viewing stuff. A lot of the filmmakers were viewers too, but they got to see a lot of cool stuff that they might not have seen without the film festival.
I've been listening to various things online and podcasts, and I was hearing the clickbait Q&A that you were having, and some people can't make a screening or a Q&A or whatever, and everybody wants to participate in these things, and what ends up happening, I don't know, it's kind of like one of these things, like hopefully these aren't missed opportunities. I mean, for a while it will be, one of these things, but I think that's what, to me, it's this added emphasis, and I know everybody can't make all the screenings, but to me, it's always been this thing that when you have the opportunity, of course, they become special moments when we're all able to gather and watch in person as a group, because I think it was Josh from Flesh Studios he was actually saying that it's a different experience. He's seen the film or his films online, but there's just something about the energy of the crowd, the audience, and that interaction, and it's just a different feeling. I miss it. I really.
That's honestly the main thing I miss is the film festivals and even just going to the movies. I don't think there's ever a better way to watch a movie than on the big screen.
Yeah, you posed the question, and I remember when you went out to see King Kong, and I was jealous because I don't believe they were offering that here in Corpus, but it caught me there for a minute. Like, wait a minute, what was the last film I actually saw in a movie theater?
It's weird because I went every week, sometimes more than once a week to the movies, so it was like a regular occurrence for me. And then to think back, like, wow, that might be the last one I see for the foreseeable future in a movie theater. It's a really strange thing to think about.
Yeah, I think I shared a link with my wife. One movie theater, I believe, in the area has actually attempted to open, and they're showing 1917, The Wretched, Trolls, and something else. And I was for a minute there, I paused and I'm like, I think I want to see The Wretched. I mean, but I don't know. I just don't, maybe it's not the right time, but it was, it almost felt like maybe there's a way to get back into the loop a little bit, but I don't know. It's still a little risky,
Yeah, it's a weird thing because I do think it's like so when things do start to open, there's going to be people who aren't going to want to go to things right away, or maybe not for a long time. But then there's also a lot of people. I mean, I'm kind of the both fence there. It's like I don't want to go, but then like I really want to go to the movies too. So I don't know what's going to happen. I think either it'll be people stay away, or there's going to be like a whole bunch of people really been wanting to do this, so they're all going to go, and maybe they'll kind of even each other out. So it'll be kind of the normal crowd. I don't know how it'll go though.
Yeah, I mean, the lead that obviously we're following is the mode that Alamo Drafthouse is obviously, and they haven't even really mentioned when they're going to open things up. I mean, they were one of the first theaters to shut down. They just said, we're just across the nation, we're just going to go ahead and shut it down for the safety and all that. But I know that they're doing their online service, kind of like a lot of virtual kind of thing. But I don't know. I don't know if it's a long haul kind of thing. Everybody in their businesses has whatever they're going to do, and I know that there's a lot of film festivals in Texas, not just what we do, but that's that big draw in Texas. A lot of Austin festivals in San Antonio. They like to connect that way. Fantastic Fest, that was another. That's another one that I think a lot. I think they officially said they're going virtual, I believe, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah. See, and that's a huge one that's done through them, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if people don't know, South Texas Underground Film Festival is your guys' festival stuff, which I have the shirt right here, which I wear all the time, not just for this interview, but I had to wear it for this interview. I wear it all the time. I always love all your guys' designs, and I was so happy to get there in person because it was a great time. And a big thing that for me, what I do the podcast and everything too is for like the community. And that's what I really loved about stuff was there's a group of people that seem to always be there, and some people that come, now and then. But everyone connects because they all have the same love for underground, weird, cool movies.
I think. To this day, I mean, we've done 8 film festivals, and we've sold shirts, in and around of all kinds. That it still means a lot when I see, somebody, either in a podcast or a photo or doing an interview somewhere, and I look at their shirt and I'm like, wow, they're wearing a Stuff 4 shirt or Stuff whatever, and it means a lot because it's I mean, we're surrounded by it. It's on our Facebook and this, that, and the other, but it's like to the, I mean, it still means a lot, and it catches me off guard when I see somebody from the festival in LA doing an interview, and I look at the shirt and it just pokes through on the camera, and I'm like, wow, that's awesome. They're wearing one of the older shirts or whatever it is, and it's a talking point as well, because people definitely see it and start asking questions.
My brother did. He was like, that shirt's awesome, because he loved, the moon. And then I was like, oh yeah, it's from Snuff. And he's like, so he has to get one at some point.
Yeah, my wife, Mariella, is the one. She's she came up with, we were doing these film challenges where we were trying to bring film history, and, we would try to educate a lot of our friends and stuff like that about the different movements and stuff. And it was something that I guess stuck with my wife, and she wanted to incorporate that iconic image, but with the camera lens instead of the missile or the rocket into the moon. It's just
Mariella, can you hear us still?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, very low though.
Very low. Yeah.
Is it very low? Do I need to go up closer? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
an 8-meter lens.
Yeah, we can't quite hear you, unfortunately.
Yeah, you're getting interference from. It's that what I told you. I think it is.
Air conditioning.
Yeah.
It's off right now.
Okay. Now I can hear you.
Yeah. So I also want to mention Quaranstein, however you want to say it. But it was really fun. We had like 17 people on the other week, which was a crazy experience trying to get everyone. But I think it worked. And that was just really fun to watch. You could tell everyone had a good time, making it, which came through in the finished product. So how did you guys get involved? For people who don't know, you guys do the animation, I believe, at the end.
Yeah. Well, Hondo did the animation. What happened, we got involved is they were going to be doing this project with some other filmmakers. Great. Can y'all hear me?
No, you cut in and out. We hear you fine for a second, and then your audio cuts out.
Okay. How's that?
It's good at the moment.
Okay. So I saw that Brian Lanano had posted on his Facebook that they were doing this project with other filmmakers to create something, since we haven't done it about 6 years, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And
no, you're cutting out again. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, it's not your fault.
I'm gonna go
It's
back
that technology.
They had been a long. Brian had been a long time filmmaker. That had been a. He sent us some films for the very first horror film challenge, and it was Mariella reaching out, and then reaching out back to us, and we had about maybe 2 or 3 films from Brian and Kevin, and that was our introduction to them. The Robot Hand company, and we introduced their short films to our audience here in Corpus Christi, and it immediately was impactful. Everybody fell in love with the style of films that they were making, and we had always been in touch. Every year, we were always receiving a film, and we're always following Brian's work, and we don't like to push a lot of our production that, hey, we do this, that, and the other, and but some people knew that we did films and stuff like that, but this opportunity came around where I mean, we're all on quarantine. What are we doing? And we definitely wanted to work with our son. I thought this would be a good coming out for him. He does a lot of animation, and we thought that this would be a good opportunity for us to introduce, everybody to his work. If you've come to the festival, you were able to see his little teaser at the beginning of the festival. You would see, we'd have trailers, but then we would have his little bumper that he created for us. And but I mean, he's so talented. We really wanted to work with him. So we came up with a story, components of Frankenstein, the Frankenstein monster being in quarantine, and then all the different things. So we came up with some different moments that he would interact with the COVID virus, and kind of like the villagers following him with the flames. The COVID virus is basically running after him and sending him home, and then eventually they track him down. And the guys, Brian and Kevin, found a unique way of incorporating that into the credits, along with the song, that it fit really well. And I think the mix of our footage and then the other footage that was in there, I think it went real well for the entire project of what it was. And so just to be part of it, I think was an amazing thing. By the way, when you were able to facilitate all those guests, is that the most guests you've ever had on one particular?
Definitely. Yeah.
I applaud you for being able to do that. That is a milestone moment for you, and being able to handle that. And it was great to be able to feature all these guys in some shape or form. And I thank you personally for being able to do that.
You're welcome. Awesome. Yeah, it was very cool. And I've had Brian on before for a couple other projects, and I always like all this stuff. It's really weird and fun, and I always dig it. So I just as soon, and I knew this before I even saw it. It's Frankenstein, which I'm a big fan of, which I have a lot of Frankenstein stuff here. And so I was like, oh, this is probably gonna be something I dig. And then when I heard how it was made, like how I had never heard of the exquisite. I've heard of exquisite corpse, but I actually had no idea what it actually meant. So the idea that one person makes a bit, then the other person makes another bit, and then they put it together, which that made it even cooler, knowing the process of how it was done. And it was cool because everyone had a little different style, and which you might think maybe that is a possibility of not working if everyone has a different style, but it really flowed well together.
No, I thought it all meshed very well. It was able to feature a lot of our styles, and it really kept everybody on their toes. I enjoyed listening to their processes and their approach to their episodes. And I thought, I don't know. I'm just stoked about how it all came out. There's still all this rumblings of what's going to happen with the film, and I'm so excited that I can't wait for these to be announced. What's going to happen? So Brian and Kevin definitely have a lot of announcements and stuff. So we're just so glad to be part of it and be part of the ride for sure.
Can you hear me? Can y'all hear me?
It's real low. Yeah.
Hello? Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just really, there's a lot of filmmakers that we've always wanted to work with, and he's one of them, and it just, I don't know. I just think it's just really cool that we were able to be a part of the project.
Yeah, and it's cool because, you guys were filmmakers before running the festival. And I know you haven't necessarily done a lot of filmmaking in the last little while because life and the festival and everything. So that must have been cool, to be involved in the project.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then Hondo had a really good time.
Yeah, I loved his. Robert mentioned the little bumper at stuff, and I thought it was. I always thought it was awesome. So it was cool to see him be part of it.
Yeah. he enjoyed it. He was really neat. And to see him like just do something that he really loves to do, and then to be a part of a bigger group.
Uh-oh. We lost you again. It was working fine there for a moment.
Sorry.
It's not your fault. We'll just blame technology. But yeah, and for people who don't know, you can watch the whole Quaranstein. It's on YouTube and Vimeo, which I watched with some of my friends the other day, and they all really liked it. Annabelle really dug it. We did a little group watch with everybody, and like I said, it's on YouTube, so you could just go watch it. It's not you don't have to pay for it or anything.
While it's still on, I would recommend people even more so go try to watch it now, because if I'm not mistaken, the time they might remove it because of certain announcements they're going to make.
Okay.
We're not at liberty to say what those are, but if it's still available, go watch it before it's put on private or whatever they plan on doing. This is your final warning.
Brian says hello and sends a heart emoji.
Oh yes, hearts go out to everybody out there, most definitely.
Yeah.
We still need to figure out a way to get Brian to Corpus Christi. We need to do there were so many rumblings during the festival of what we wanted to do for the next festival or the 10th festival or whatever festival it is.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever festival that's coming up is going to be a big celebration for sure. But we've always wanted to do some kind of retrospect, like revisiting our first ever event, which was the Horror Film Challenge. And he's definitely been a big part of our family for sure. And a lot of people that we still have fans from that first screening that come every year to the festival. I'll try to share this. I'll share it later with you, Neal. I'll share it online. But one guy had been collecting memorabilia and badges and all that stuff, and he made this amazing piece of like wall art. And and he had been there since the very first film screening we've ever had. And to me, that was awesome to see that, somebody else has, all this, stuff associated to the festival.
Yeah.
Yeah. It obviously means a lot that we're doing this. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Brian says, I would love that. In my 10 years of knowing you, I still have yet to meet you both. This was a great honor for us to be able to contribute something that was, I know it was a big collaborative effort, but it definitely meant a lot to me and Mariella and my son that we were able to be part of Quaranstein. And it's just awesome. Just awesome. Yeah. So I know there's no you have a date for the next film festival. I know it. Who knows what's going to happen? But when is it scheduled? It's in January, I think.
Late January, crossing in. I think it's late January, crossing into February. Just because of what it was. I mean, we had wanted to do August, just to kind of catch up on numbers, but it was fitting that we saved the other date. So it would match up with the annual cycle.
Yeah.
I mean, we still don't know what's going to happen. I remember all the rumblings, 3 months ago that, before summer, we'll be able to keep all these May and June dates. And, a lot of festivals are going to have to start, a lot of them are pulling the trigger and they're going virtual. I mean, that's what it seems like. And I've seen that debate rise up as far as, with some filmmakers, because, I don't know. I feel for them. Because you work on these projects, and you look for this, these responses, and one filmmaker sent me a message saying that he was saving up budget for all these festivals that he wanted to attend, and one by one, each one keeps getting either canceled or turning virtual. He doesn't know if to put that into a whole other project and just, I don't know what he wants to do with this film, but it's about to come out. He doesn't know if just to hold on to it. It's a weird dilemma that the filmmaker, us as film festivals have a different thing that we're dealing with, but I can imagine that, you've crowdsourced, they've been with you, and you've got all this expectation of the way you want to see your film. And who knows what happens with distribution? Does that affect your overall product that you release? So like I said, that's a whole other thing that, even the movie industry has decided to pull all their, we're not seeing Wonder Woman. We're not seeing all these other films that I know that Ghostbusters. Yeah. That's the one that I really wanted to see. Yeah. And we got to wait a whole other year to see the Ghostbusters.
Right. And then you wonder, what about the movies that were supposed to come out next year? Do they get pushed back to the next year? Or is there going to be just 100 movies that come out, the next summer? Is this going to be, insane? I don't know. But even when we did ours, the Severed Limbs one, I made sure to let everyone know. I don't want to get anyone in trouble if if they had distribution planned, because I know going virtual, especially ours was free and stuff, it could, hinder them from getting distribution, or even with other film festivals. Yeah, but it's up to them to figure all that out. But I just didn't want to get anyone in trouble with whoever they're working with.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so what I was saying is that I think what you're doing is fantastic. Art really is for the people, and you having it online and having it available for free for people to see your.
You lost it again. Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. It's just.
Nope.
Boy, talk.
Yeah, it only goes on for a few seconds and goes off. I'm sorry.
Okay, Rob, go ahead and talk.
Well, I'm mesmerized by that because it was working fine. I don't know if there's something closing it up on your end, but I don't know. This is a debate that other film festivals have, and then they have to make that choice. We've been gauging a lot of what the region and the state, and then we look abroad and we see what other festivals are doing. And I think everybody has different dilemmas that they have to face when they're put into that. For us, obviously, let's just say we stuck with the date, but we don't have a venue. Alamo Drafthouse is not opening up. We don't know what's going to happen with that. Well, then obviously we're going to have to make that decision. Do you either go virtual or you cancel? There are other festivals that have sponsorship obligations that, some other festivals don't have. Everybody, like I said, everybody has something that they have to address. Does that affect, their sponsors? The sponsor's going to say, hey, well, I gave you these funds for X amount of time.
Yeah.
What are you going to double up? And then you're going to have these other more funds, or are you just going to use those same funds? And so it becomes a big mess,
And even people who, pay so much money to have their film, at a festival. Originally they did that thinking, it's in a theater with people. And how do they feel about it being? I know it's, no one can really do anything about it, but still, it's not exactly what they originally put their money up for. So, I assume it's a big mess for everybody.
Yeah,
both the filmmakers and the people putting together the festivals.
I know I enjoyed the films that were available on the South by Southwest Prime thing, but I know that a majority of those. There were a handful of films that were features, or maybe about 8 features, but then most of them were short films. A lot of the features decided not to participate in that. And so, I don't know. I mean, it raises a lot of questions that, I sometimes, like I said, everybody has something a little bit, they have to, I guess, account for something and to make that decision and stuff like that. The big guys, I know early on, one of the big questions was, and we haven't even approached it, was what is the Cannes Film Festival going to do, and what is the Venice Festival and all these other, big buying festivals. That's where everybody buys those films that eventually will, trickle out throughout the year. So what happens then when all the movies from this past year have been put on hold? They've been kind of slipping, some of these smaller films and stuff like that. But, you're going to have this glut, like you were saying. What are you going to just release 100 plus more films the following year? Yeah. It's going to get kind of weird, the way things are looking.
Yeah, it's bizarre. So I would want to talk to you about the. I have to look up the name because you can pronounce it better than me. Your short document, the short. I know it's a feature documentary too, but the short documentary that we played.
Yeah, El Indio de Cotulla.
Yeah,
El Indio
which was
de Cotulla.
Amazing. Everyone and really people wrote in saying that it was to add like a special award for it because everyone liked it because it didn't necessarily fit in the awards we had. And I didn't want to put a documentary award since there was really one documentary.
My wife missed that part of the. She was watching the awards, and when it got to that part, she missed that part. But when I picked her up later that evening from work, she was like, "So what ended up happening?" I'm like, "You didn't know?" I go, I was surprised and very thrilled and that we were honored. That they made a category for us, and I thought that was it meant a lot. That was a project that it was almost like it really didn't have a place to go, and it's just kind of it was there, and what I think the push was that my wife really thought. You know what? Let's see what this audience thinks. And I thought this was the best thing. We could show it to different friends, but hey, they're your friends. You're going to get different reactions and stuff. To me, to get responses from the West Coast and the East Coast, and Central, the United States, Midwest, and all that kind of stuff. It just, to me, we were getting a different feedback that we had never received before. We didn't know how it would be received at all.
That's a good point because that you might think that it might only appeal to people from that area. Correct.
And the response on the two screenings that you had was very favorable, and there were some that even reached out afterwards and wanted to find out more information and explore a little bit more of the story itself and all that. So I really would like my wife's. Is your microphone working? Or
no, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the setup on the thing. You could probably check on the bottom. If you check on the bottom, it should be like microphone setups down there, Mariella. You could check it. Maybe the volume. I don't know, but that was a project that was. It was one of these things that when we were when it was being put together, I was working at a production company, industrial production company, and this question of this curandero, from Cotulla was brought up, and I had never been to a curandero or a healer of nature. So when they said, okay, you know what, it was early in the morning, and they said, you know what, we're gonna take you to Cotulla right now. And I'm like, how far away is that? What are you doing? They go, you know what, we're just gonna go there. And we did the whole process like a person that was gonna go actually see him. There was no preemptive phone calls. We didn't tell them that we were coming. And I said, if we're going to do this, I want to go through the steps of us like actually visiting, El Indio. If you're going to take me to this, let's go. So we went, it's about, an hour and a half drive. We get there, there are this big, humongous line of people. We had to grab a number to see him. And they said, based on this number, it's probably going to take a good 2 hours to see this guy. And I was just taking in all the activity that was happening there. Lots of people of different backgrounds were there. It wasn't just, Hispanic people, or old, young, white people, people of it was just an eclectic a group of people waiting to see him. And when we finally got to see him, he recognized the people that I went with. He didn't know who I was, but he was like, why didn't you tell, at the time, his wife? He goes, why didn't you tell my wife? We could have zoomed you ahead to the front of the line. And they were like, no. And the whole time I kept quiet. He was speaking Spanish the whole time. He doesn't speak English. He just speaks in Spanish. I understand what he was saying. So I just sat there and I was really quiet, and he kept talking to one person on this side, and then he would talk to the other person. But after a while, he would talk, he would face this person and look, and then he would just stop and stare at me for a little bit. Then he would keep staring and then start talking with the next person. And then he just said, wait a minute. Do you all mind? I want to talk to him. There's something that is calling me. He has questions, and I want to answer those questions. And I was like, kind of like, uh-oh, what's going on here? Yeah. And then he asked my permission, and he said, do I have permission to go ahead and ask these questions? Because what's going to happen is that when I get into this, like, I don't know, you want to call it I don't want to say a trance, but when he gets into that, where he's going to read your cards or whatever, he's going to just start saying whatever comes out. And do I have any problem with these guys being in the room? And I said, no, I don't even know them. I just started working that week. So even this guy, there was no way he knew anything about me. Nobody knew anything about me. So then he grabs his deck of cards, and then he just starts flipping these cards over in 3 rows. So you have 1 row, 2 rows, and 3 rows. He goes, this is your past, this is your present, and this is your future. Card after card, this guy is reading me like all the instructions and all my history are written on me. And that just totally threw me for a loop. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And I'm like, there's no way that these guys that I came with know anything about me, but this guy is reading me like I'm a book. And it just freaked me out. And I ended up having, I had to gather all my senses and all this, because the first thing I thought of was like, I want to document what is going on here. It affected me that much that the fact that he doesn't charge anybody, because there's all these shysters, especially down here where in Corpus, there's all these places that you go and they'll scare you. They'll say, hey, you got a curse on you. You need to bring me $1,500 or else you're going to get sick or your family's going to die or you're going to die. And the people do it. They follow along, and then they string them along and they start making all kinds of money off them. El Indio didn't want any money. He said that his gifts are from God and that he's there to help everybody. And that intrigued me, and that we started setting up interviews, and then, the story started, taking place. It started with pre-interviews, and at one point we decided, well, we're going to go hardcore into the actual filming process, where we were going to document an actual week in his life. And it just so happened to be Holy Week, and we all stayed. Me, Mariella, the whole family, we went up there and we were in Cotulla for a week long with the family. all these crazy things that were happening, were taking place, and we were just there to document all this crazy stuff. I just, there were just moments in there, and I guess this being the short version of the film, the highlight of that one was the Exorcism that came out on a day that we were just kind of chilling out. It was almost like we were just kind of rapping, making notes of what we wanted to do if we did come back. And we scrambled around because we were wondering where he was, El Indio. And his wife said, I think he's talking to somebody. So we kind of, at the beginning, we kind of secretively were filming from afar, and we got permission to get closer, because anytime we were going to do this, we actually got permission from El Indio and the participant and all that, if they minded if we documented the process. His processes are very personal, and a lot of the stuff that is spoken through these processes can be quite personal in nature, and so we would get all kinds of permission before we would approach that. We were afar for the beginning part of that. We were given permission to get closer, so I think the only thing that we didn't have an up-close shot was when it was almost like an emergency thing. This guy was very tormented. He was going through all kinds of anguish and just pain and stuff like that. And we got in right when he started, I guess, starting his initial reading of this individual. So that's what everybody saw. They got to see that part.
So how long is? Do you have the finished long version? And how long?
It is in Spanish. It's about 90 minutes long. And even at 90 minutes long, there was so much cut out of it. There were things that were just getting a little bit too deep and scary. Because when you're going into a project, you're thinking of all these different angles that you want to film. There were segments that we were exploring a tangent storyline of in regards to a person who has never been to El Indio, very similar to myself, and we wanted to track their progress as a skeptic, and then see their process, as they visit him. And when they come through that other side, what are their thoughts of that? That part, we took that out, and we basically stuck to the story. This is in the feature version of the different type of cleansings that El Indio will perform for what occasion that they may stumble across. And then we wanted to show a little bit about his background, his day-to-day life, because he'll only do these processes like twice a day. And then the rest of his week is filled up of working on a farm. He owns a store in town, so he's always there, the day-to-day operations of what's happening there. And then his normal family life of that's a whole other story to begin with as well, because it's not just his kids. He's taking care of other people's kids, and it's just it's a very dynamic character here that there's so much to him. This was just this little piece of what he does. So the film basically explores, how he started in this, what he does on a day-to-day operation, and the different people that he'll meet. I was totally, it opened a whole other side of this type of culture that, I've only heard about this stuff in my culture, but it's not like that here where I live. I mean, that was a whole different other thing.
Mm-hmm. Now, how long did you film with him for?
Well, the bulk of the bulk of the film took a week. We went up on I think it was a Sunday. We went from Sunday to Saturday during Holy Week. And then that was that Easter time. So that's where we did a lot of the, all the cleansings and all that kind of stuff that we were going to do. We did pre-interviews like once or twice prior, but visiting him, I think it was like maybe 6 months. So at one time it was like summer, then winter or whatever. We kind of went through the seasons, and then we grabbed some extra B-roll with the narrator. We took him up there to visit El Indio. So that way the narration made sense of bringing him. We're looking for the curandero, and that became the bookend of the film. The narrator, which was Jorge Reynoso, he appears in the film and narrates the film, where we go up to Cotulla and he's looking for El Indio. And then we enter the story of El Indio telling us who he is. And then it ends with the questions of, who is El Indio? And his battle still goes on. It's one of those things that people to this day will still, I don't know how they find me. They find me online, and I'll get these cryptic messages. I need El Indio. Can you tell me how to get to him? And I'm like, go to Cotulla. Somebody will point you in the direction. I don't know how to get a hold of him.
I had someone ask me after we, it was in Spanish, and
yeah,
they were asking how to find him.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys, Yeah.
Have you kept in touch with him at all since then?
I think we. There was one time, and it was because of another project that was happening. I have a friend from college, and this is the amazing part is that he had a calling, I guess. He got his bachelor's degree. I mean, so I know that he got that, but for some reason, it called to him. I don't know what you want to call it. He saw parts of the film that we made. The next thing I know is that he's performing various rituals and stuff like that in his house in Austin. And I'm like, what's going on here? And so now he does blessings and all kinds of stuff as well. So something touched him in the film that, opened up, I guess, this channel and stuff like that. But I mean, if you were to say, hey, do I know how to get in touch with him like right now? I don't even, yeah. I would be doing the same thing as everybody else. I have to go rediscover where he's at again. He's always on the move. The little room where he was doing the rituals and stuff like that, it's always the target of arson. Everybody's always burning his place up, and he has to rebuild it somewhere else, and then he rebuilds it somewhere else. So the people that know how to find him, they know where to get a hold of him. It's not like he advertises, hey, come to, come find me here.
Yeah. So, was he cool with you filming, or was that hard to get him to agree to do?
I don't think there was a moment where, I take that back. There were certain things, I mean, he was open for the most part. He was open to us filming around his family, him. Of course, we would get permission beforehand when we would do the rituals. There were some rituals that he did that were like sacred that he said that if you film this, you cannot say anything. You guys can't talk, can't be a distraction. You can observe. There has to be one camera. You can't, So we did it twice because one of the times that we did, we were overcome by the fumes and everything where we all were falling down. I mean, we were getting overwhelmed by what was happening. We had to leave the room. It was just, we couldn't figure out how he was able to stay in that room with the fumes and all that kind of stuff. And then in the documentary, he explains, it's when he does his final cleansing, after has seen everybody that day, he has all that bad mojo, from everybody that he's cleansed, that he does this final ritual at the end. Because the way he said that to us, if he doesn't do this, he'll take that to his family, and it could get onto his family. The bad luck can get to the family, and it can hurt them. It could kill them. It can make them sick. It can do all these things. So he has to be real careful of that. So when he was talking to us, he said it's a very sacred ritual. I'll let you film it. But, the first time we tried to film it, we all fell apart. We didn't know what we were doing. The second time, we kind of braved through it. We didn't have all our crew there. We just did a real thin skeleton crew just to capture it. And we were able to capture it the second time. But, it was pretty tough, doing something like that. There were some he was pretty open with whatever questions we had. There were some things that he would tell us to turn the camera off because of the nature of the, what it was. There were instances that involved, I don't know. I don't know what the statute of limitations is from now until then, but
right.
There were just some things that he would rather talk off camera, like off the record, just because it could be sensitive. Because of, I don't know. I don't know if I'll go any more than that, but we would question him about, hey, where did that come from? Oh yeah, and he was real open to discuss. That was found on this farm, and it was a farming implement, but it was cursed. The family did not know how it got on their property, but he told the family, search your land. There's something there that should not be there. And they brought this thing saying, we didn't even know what this thing was. And he goes, well, that's the mala suerte. That's the bad luck. Somebody put that on your property because they want you to get sick or whatever, or kill your cows or whatever. So he was collecting all these things. Like the Warrens have their weird room. Okay, that's what he was doing in his thing. Mm-hmm. So in every corner there was something, of that nature. Some things we could talk about, some things he would talk about off camera, but he wasn't afraid to talk about. There was never anything like off limits. I mean, everything was fair game.
Yeah. He just doesn't want some stuff documented. I understand.
Right, right.
Was that a weird feeling being in that room with all the different objects?
I know that when do you want to try your microphone again, Mario? Or you want me to just go ahead? Yeah, it's low.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
I went in. I was the guinea pig. Can you hear me? Did it go out again?
I hear you.
You can hear.
I went in as the skeptic, and
no, we lost you.
We lost you.
She went in as a skeptic, and this was the thing that when we went in, we were going to film her interview, and I wanted to get it from the start all the way in. I didn't want it to be like, okay, we're sitting down, whatever, and bam. I wanted to get her walking in and immediately seeing what I saw when I walked in. So when she walked in, we immediately saw this pillar or whatever, like a post, but there was a nail, and hanging on that nail was a pacifier with a very distinct clip on it. Baby pacifiers, they'll attach a clip, so they clip it to the clothes of the baby. Well, it was a Winnie the Pooh, and the pacifier was this. What struck us odd, where we were like walking up to this, and we just stopped, me and Mariella, and we're like, holy shit. It was the exact same pacifier and clip that my daughter used to use when she was growing up.
Wow, that's crazy.
Very to the and it's not the general one that you get from the hospital. There's always this generic one. No, it was a very specific one. And that clip, that Winnie the Pooh clip, that just, it shook us to the core a little bit right off the spot. And then he stood up and he goes, in Spanish, he goes, stop. There will be things that you see in here that are very familiar to you. This room is always changing. And I'm like, okay. I didn't notice at the time I went, and here it is. Now we're seeing some crazy shit on the thing. And that basically opened the thing. I mean, I was even thrown off, and I'm coming in here as a production guy, and now all of a sudden I'm thrown off my game because all of a sudden I'm throwing a curveball where now all of a sudden there's things that weren't there before, and now we're seeing things that are now present in this room, and very much in the same manner. I don't want to get too much into details of it, but in the same manner that I was being revealed all kinds of different things, we were getting, certain information and stuff like that in this initial meeting. So it was a little offsetting in a way. You could say it was a little uncomfortable, enlightening, and disturbing all at the same time. So, it's one of those things, if anybody was to go to anything like this, I'm not going to just say him, but you need to be prepared that anything could pretty much present itself. If you're open to that, maybe it's going to be more so than others or whatever. The people. Obviously there's a lot of skeptics and stuff that will, it's a coincidence. It's this, that, and the other. To me, it was way too coincidental on my case. And then when my wife was introduced in this manner, and I started thinking maybe this wasn't the right thing. That maybe we should back up a little bit because, it's going to get a little bit too intense.
Yeah. Now, how about Mariella was skeptical about it going in. How about yourself? Was it something you were skeptical about as well? Or
I was 100% skeptical. I mean, I wanted to be open to this. So that's why I just sat back there and I was like, okay, just let them talk. I'm just going to observe. And then he stops the whole thing and says, you know what? I want to talk to you. And I'm like, you want to talk to me? And I'm like smiling, looking around, and they're like, that's up to you, Rob. He wants to talk to you now. And then that's when he pulls out the cards and he goes, do you mind if I read? Because usually it's like people seek him for a reading. I wasn't asking for a reading, but he says, I have to read your cards. And I'm like, what do you mean you have to read my cards? What is it? And that's when he proceeded to, tell me my past. And he revealed some stuff there that just kind of, I just couldn't stop talking about it when I went home, the things that he was revealing. And then when he told me about where I was at in my present, these guys started looking at me like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And then the possibility of the future, I don't know. I think to explore that, I mean, I think I might have broke through whatever that was, because he said there was something blocking a lot of stuff from happening. And that if, we did a cleansing, maybe that'll open up and then I'll be able to truly achieve the different things that I wanted to achieve. I mean, looking back on that, I mean, I could kind of say that that was a positive, that he was true, that it did open up something as far as being a creative, because it just depends on how you define it. You know what I'm saying? It's like everybody interprets it a certain way. So if you interpret it a certain way, I think some of that has been achieved, what he was speculating that would happen. So I don't know. Like I said, it just depends on how you read things and all that kind of thing. I know that there's a lot of mysteries and stuff like that we went with questions with my wife, and that's not even for discussion here. But regardless of what that was, we were able to find some answers later down the line for my wife. So I don't know. He does what he does, and it's very unique. It's scary. And it's very fascinating how all that kind of takes place, though. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. If anybody's in Cotulla, Texas, and they want to go check it out, I mean, I think you start asking around these small like shops and stuff, and I think they'll point you in the right direction on how to kind of get in contact with Miguel. I mean, I think you'll be able to find him.
Mm-hmm. Mariella, you might be able to join us off your phone.
I was gonna attempt.
It might work. I mean, it might be a smaller like camera, but if the audio works, that's fine. You know.
Can I do the audio through my phone and do the camera?
I don't know much about it. I've only been using this about a week, so I'm not very much help. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, we were kind of, we had never used Zoom before. We started like making little tests, and initially they seemed to work. And then, I don't know.
Yeah. I never even heard of Zoom until about a month ago. And I think whoever owns Zoom must be doing very well, because if the pandemic's good for anybody, it's good for makers of hand sanitizer and Zoom, I think.
Oh, yeah. I think that, people that weren't using Zoom before or haven't even considered that, I mean, it's going to change the dynamic of a lot of the way we do our business meetings. Do we really even have to meet all at the same room? It's safer. I don't know. I mean, it just depends.
Yeah. They even offered it with, because I had a doctor's appointment and I just rescheduled it, but because it was just a checkup, but they wanted to do it through Zoom. And I was like, I don't know what the purpose of that would even be. Like, how are you going to test my blood or
yeah. What am I plugging into? Do I plug my USB into my arm? And
right. Yeah. I didn't understand what the point of that was, but it's interesting that they can offer.
No, you got your mic off, it says.
Yeah, it's connecting. Sometimes it takes,
it's connecting.
Okay, can y'all hear me?
Yeah,
you got to turn this one off.
Okay. I think you muted on the one, and you should be talking on the phone.
You got to lower the volume.
Yeah, but now you're probably beginning our feedback.
Hey, you guys are off.
Or if you put headphones maybe on. Do you have headphones for the phone?
Yeah.
Or earbuds? That should, because right now it's just the feedback from us, I think. I'm just going to mute her for a moment so we don't get the feedback. But yeah, I think that'll work. It's just it was just our feedback. But yeah, I'm a skeptical guy by nature myself, and Annabelle and I used a Ouija board once, and I really thought I just thought it would be something silly to us to record, but we really got answers. And none of them were like spooky or anything, which made me think there was something to it, because even if you were making stuff up either unintentionally or intentionally, you think you would make up something wild. It was just like real basic, like this was like a teacher that we were talking to.
Yeah.
But what was weird, the weirdest part was we asked if he was where we were at, or like, where are you, like, in the cemetery, because we did it in the cemetery. Oh. And it just moved around and didn't land anywhere. And I knew that cemetery's haunted, but I didn't really know like the story behind it. And so I Googled it afterwards. And the reason why that cemetery is considered haunted is it was when they built the canal here, it flooded and it moved all the bodies. And so the bodies some of them are under the wrong tombstones because they put them back in the wrong order. And so then I'm thinking, like, when we asked where he was and it just kind of floated around the board, I was like, maybe there's something more to that. So it was a weird experience. Yeah, no problem.
Neal, the problem with that is that volume has to go off, and you can't have one or the other because there's no feedback. Yeah. Okay, but she's still trying to figure all that. Yeah. So basically, you had a mini poltergeist.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah. I haven't been back there, but.
Well, this is where it's going to get kind of interesting. Let me close this door because I got to feel I'm going to get some feedback. I'll be right.
All right.
Okay. Speaking of Ouija boards, my brother tells the story a lot better, but I'm going to say it was like maybe 86, 87. maybe 1988. I'm not, which one of those years. We were, you know what? It had to be after Witchboard. So what, Witchboard was 86, 87?
Yeah, I'm not positive, but yeah.
Yeah, everybody's buying Ouija boards all of a sudden, tiny container and everything. So we did the thing, and we were just goofing around, and, we're all a bunch of dudes, my brothers, little kid, whatever, and I think my mom's kind of like hanging around. My mom was like one of those cool moms that would always play video games with us or play board games or whatever. So she was like, y'all should be playing with that thing and da-da-da-da, whatever. So we're just asking the most stupidest questions. And at the time, I wasn't with I had this girlfriend on and off since junior high, whatever, in high school and all that. And so we were messing around like, well, who are you going to marry? We're doing stupid questions like that.
Right.
And so everybody's like, it's all moving around and it's going M. And we're like, oh, it's going to be my ex-girlfriend. And then A, and we're like, hey, what the hell's that? R, I, and then it stopped. Marty. And I'm like, everybody's looking at each other going, Marty, who's that? What's that? I didn't even know a Marty. My brother brings this up almost 20 years later. He goes, hey, Rob, do you remember we were playing the Ouija board? He goes, what's your wife's name? I go, you got to be shitting me. 20 years later, we find out that the Ouija board was answering that I was going to marry my wife.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So that's where you end up finding out, like, after the fact, the creepiness of whatever we were contacting. We could actually go through an entire process of the different things that we used to have. We've always been skeptical, and different things have followed, I guess, me and my brothers in the house that my brother currently lives in. But I don't know, it's been questionable things, spirits or whatever you want to call them. And that's the house that we actually did all that Ouija board stuff.
Yeah. I regret not getting stuff with my grandma before she passed away, because she supposedly grew up in a haunted house. And her parents boarded one of the rooms shut because they would see things in there. And,
there you go.
And so she'd always talk about it, but I always wanted to film her, but So anyone out there, you should, if you think of stuff like that, you should get it on your film camera at some point, because you never know when people won't be around to.
Where do you have access to that house still?
It's in Pennsylvania. I'm not sure who owns it.
Yeah.
It would have
probably burned it down now.
Yeah, it was my great. I don't think I was at. I don't know if it was. We used to go and visit our great grandparents when I was a kid. I'm not sure if whose side. I think that was on my grandfather's side. I'm not positive, but so I'm not sure if I was in the house or not. But I remember the one house we went into was supposedly haunted too. I never saw anything, but they're all really old houses.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean. It's always rich in lore and history and all that kind of stuff in that part of the country. The only history that I could get on where I grew up, in Portland, where we were having that issue, was that it was actually probably one of the oldest parts of that town of Portland, Texas. And through books and stuff, it was really close to the center of, I guess, the town, because it was this town square building that all the commerce would go through. And so it was a relatively older part of the community. So who knows what kind of activity was bouncing around that would, channel some of that kind of stuff. But we used to see shadow people and, weird stuff like that.
Yeah. When we did a walking tour of Salem one Halloween, and Salem, if no one's ever been there, it's really, parts of Salem are very touristy and kind of lame, but they're fun, whatever. But then there's really actual old parts of Salem that are really cool. And I kept seeing this one place where it was just like tombstones in a big square, and I kept thinking, how does that work? Because you can't bury a body. They were literally just tombstone after tombstone all together. And I thought maybe they sold them or something. And so on the tour, they told us that the parking lot we were on is the actual burial ground, and to build the parking lot, then they just stuck all the tombstones together in this little corner. And I was like, isn't that how, isn't that how Poltergeist started? That doesn't sound too good.
Another Poltergeist situation. There you go.
It doesn't seem very nice
Wow.
either. I don't like. We'll just put cement over here and build the parking lot. Mariella, can you hear us?
Yes, can y'all hear me?
Yes,
Wow.
we
Can hear
can.
the
Is
Very
it
good.
better?
Yeah, much better.
Okay.
Very cool. Very good. It's good to hear from you.
I'm
So
glad
now
y'all-
answer all the questions that we asked you previously.
Okay. What question do you want me to answer?
Yeah, I'm just kidding. There, well, actually, making the documentary, because as Robert said, you went in as a skeptic, and then how did you feel while you were there?
Okay, so how I got involved is, so Rob was telling me that when he came back from visiting El Indio, he says, "Oh my gosh, I went to go see this curandero. I thought it was a bunch of BS, and then he says, but he knew all this stuff about me from his ex-girlfriend, from stuff when he was a child, from, I guess, his parents. He knew like all the pretty specific stuff." I was like, you know what? That's a bunch of bull. I still didn't believe it. So then he's like, okay, well, you need to go and do this or be or whatever, and as a skeptic. So it was me, Rob, and Zoe. Did Kaylin go with us?
No. It was.
It was me, Rob, Zoe, and Hondo. And Hondo was like maybe a year old. And it was just weird because at the time, there was like I'm adopted, and I had just found my birth mother, and it was just really, really bad. Like, it was a really bad experience for me. It was like opening Pandora's box, and just all this negative stuff just came out. And so I guess in a way I was kind of wanting like answers and hope anyway, but at the same time I am a firm believer, like I believe in science. If it's not in front of me, then it's it's just hard to believe something, and so well, I walked into he calls it's a cuarito. Is that how you say it, Rob? The cleansing room, the little building that he has.
The cuarto, whatever, the cuartito,
That's how
whatever.
he calls it. So we walked in there. It was dark. I don't think there were any lights on. It was just natural lighting. And then there was like a bunch of like just stuff everywhere. And the first thing that I saw was a pacifier that looked like Zoe's pacifier. Like, it had the same scratches on it. It had the paint rubbed off in the same places. I think he eventually chewed through the plastic part of the binky, and it was missing. The tip of the binky was missing. It was just weird coincidental how it looked exactly like our daughter's. So I was like, okay. So then you sit down at his desk or whatever, and he said that I had all these questions, and he wants to help me find answers to these questions. And so he had in a drawer a bunch of different type of cards. He had playing cards, he had tarot cards of different types of decks of tarot cards, and then I don't know. So he says, okay, I feel like you need to, with what you're needing, I'm gonna read off of these cards. So he picks like this deck. I want to say they were like regular playing cards. It wasn't really like a tarot card that you would see, just a deck of playing cards. And he just lines them all up. And then he said that I had, questions about an incident that happened between my birth mother her husband, and just whatever the situation was. And he was very specific on what was like going on. And I guess I was so desperate to get these answers that I wanted to believe what he was saying, you know. Then once he was done, he says, you need to get this certain type of cleansing. So he has like these branches from some kind of an herbal tree. And one of the types of rituals or cleansing that you do is you brush off the negativity with these branches. And you do from head to toe. And then he has like holy water and stuff, and he's throwing it at you or throwing it on the branches and stuff. Then he gives you a candle, and you're supposed to hold the candle, and whatever it is that you're wanting answers for, you hold the candle. You don't say anything. He doesn't want to know anything. So then you go into like the area where you saw like the fire or whatever, and he lights the candle, and then you're standing, like I was standing in the middle, and then he surrounds you with fire, and depending on how the fire is burning, he says that it's like the evil spirits or something leaving whatever it is that's attached to you. And so so you're holding when you're holding the candle, he's giving you instructions, and then you're supposed to be saying like an Our Father, Hail Mary, you know, and then that candle goes into, I guess, the side, because he collects, I don't know if you recall, but there's like a collection of the candles around the fire. So those are all the people that he saw for that day. So then I'm in the middle of the fire. Then the branches that I cleansed or I wiped my body with or whatever, he puts it around the circle where the fire is. And so I guess that helps to fuel the fire. But it was just really weird how like they were like a tornado, and it was tunneling all the way around. So in that room, there are no windows. In that room, there's no like a breeze to cause the tornadic fire or whatever. So I don't know. You can't explain it. I know that there were some of the candles that whenever they were filming, I guess worms appeared or something, and I don't know, nails would appear. Different objects would appear in different candles and stuff. And I don't know. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
What are the plans to do with it now, Indigo?
Well, I feel like you gave it some little legs, because we really haven't shown it anywhere. I think there was like a screening at the college or something, but that was it. We, I guess, showed it online. We used to have a public access show called Stuff, because of stuff, and we showed it there. But there was this guy who was I guess went and bootlegged our movie and claimed it for his own or whatever. And so we took it down so that he would stop making money off of it.
Mm-hmm. That's another problem with the potential problem with the online film festivals, the piracy.
Yeah, but I don't know. So I think what we're gonna do is we're going to try to submit it to festivals to see who wants to, I don't know, show it.
Yeah.
I know that I was going to say that in the days before the film was actually done, we had and I think they're still out there, we had these little teasers that are scattered throughout the internet. They're on YouTube. Well, I know that those teasers, I got the weirdest email one time, and I think Mariella might remember. It was actually a law enforcement agency that does investigations and stuff like that all up and down the border. were actually interested in using the film. They hadn't even seen the film, but they said the pieces of the film, they would like to use them in some kind of educational.
Yeah. Well, okay. So so there's, I don't know if you saw the room where there's a figure that kind of looked like the Virgin Mary, but she was a skeleton. Well, I guess in the curandero culture, they have like a saint called Santa Muerte or something. And the people who, like drug dealers, mafia, the cartels, the gangs, they worship this icon or whatever, and
Protector type thing.
yes, because they feel that she's going to protect them and they're not going to get in trouble. El Indio's explanation to that is that Santa Muerte, she is like justice. So she holds, she's the balance of negative and positive or something. But for whatever reason, the gangs or cartels or whatever, the drug dealers, they pray to her because they feel that she's going to protect them. And so I think that's the reason why they wanted that, to use it as a learning tool, because they see so much of these people with their shrines to this entity or to this icon. So did that answer y'all's question?
Yeah, definitely. No, I find it very interesting, and I need to check out. I know it's in Spanish, but I need to check out the whole one if you're interested in it.
Yeah, I think there's some segments where he's talking about his family and stuff, but I think just kind of watching it, I think you can kind of figure out some of the gist of what's happening, and then you'll get to examine what the different cleansings are. Mm-hmm. You'll notice quickly he's using like whips in one, he's using chickens, he's using various candles, he's using these different things that people, I guess they brush themselves with different things. And so you'll see all that. I mean, you're getting a snapshot of all those things. And
had you done documentaries before this?
Yeah, I mean,
you did some for college.
Yeah. I mean, I did some for the school. I've always been fascinated with, short form documentaries, working with other students and making our own type thing. But this was the first one that was like, I guess, the real deal kind of thing, the big project kind of thing. There's been so many different things that we've wanted to explore and stuff. It's I guess you could say that there's a lot of different. I just know the fact that we're able to, introduce this film and out there to everybody. It kind of renewed, the creative juices, so to speak. That's even the Quaranstein kind of got that started to the point where we're looking at some of the various projects that we either put on hold or things that we wanted to do, or even whatever the next incarnation of what we want to do creatively. It's always been finding that right time to be able to do the project. I work a lot with Mariella on these projects, and her job and my job sometimes don't sync up when it comes to doing some of these things. But the fact that we were able to do like Quaranstein, I know it was a short form kind of thing. I don't know. It kind of makes me want to. Maybe there's some different avenues in that. I know animation in that form was the first thing I've been able to work with somebody else. Me and my wife had worked on I think it was like a 48-hour project where it incorporated some animation or green screening animated models and stuff like that. And then we were doing a public access show that I was able to, make simple animation on some other characters as well. So I don't know. We've always kind of played around with different mediums and storytelling, from true documentaries to music videos and short films, and working with feature projects and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I think sometimes people don't think of documentaries as storytelling, but I think it is. I mean, you still have to have a story to tell, otherwise it's just people talking.
Right,
Yeah.
right, most definitely, and that's I think that's, to me, and that was the reason why, when I chose the credits, how we were credited with that. If you watch the credits, it has like director and all that kind of stuff. But what I wanted to do was feature my wife as producer, because she was the one that helped oversee, the long form of that. And then I was hands-on editing in that. To me, that was those two. Those worked in tandem, pretty much all the way for them, from start to finish, of what the completed project would end up looking like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I know myself, just doing the film festival, then putting the awards together. It's also inspired me to do some more, even just a little short, some weird short or something, because they're fun to do and it's cool to share them with people.
Oh,
and,
no, most definitely.
It's nice to have use your creativity on something.
Oh yeah, it's good to create and express yourself.
Did you see?
Oh, go ahead.
What were you gonna ask?
I was gonna say, Over Your Shoulder, It's Alive.
Yes.
That movie scared the crap out of me.
Yes.
When I was, I don't even know how old I was. I was staying at my grandmother's house with some cousins, and they decided, let's all watch It's Alive.
Uh-huh.
And I should have never watched that movie, because I had nightmares like nonstop. Like my mom was like calling my grandmother and my cousins, he should have never seen that movie, and this, that, and the other. And yeah, I don't know. It didn't help. I think that my mom was pregnant, so I was. It doesn't help.
No, it's also on my hat here.
Yes, very awesome.
Yeah, this is Annabelle painted me this hat. It's all the weird monsters I like from different movies. So what's cool about it's very personalized to me, and it's not necessarily like a lot of mainstream monsters. It's like Belial from Basket Case. So and there's the stuff, not your guys' stuff, but the movie.
Yeah.
Poster. I think it's a poster. Someone did a parody of the Stuff movie for the festival.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, the parody poster.
Oh, really? I've not seen that. I love the stuff. I love that the first notion the guy has when he sees this ooze bubbling out of the ground is, let me eat this and see what it tastes like. That's how the whole movie starts. Yeah. So that seems a very reasonable thing to do if you see something bubbling out of the ground. Yeah. So everyone, all the kids out there, if you see stuff bubbling on the ground, don't eat it. It's probably it's not a good idea, even if it doesn't end up eating you. But it's probably not very cool. Yeah. What are some of your guys' favorite, like? I don't want to say your favorite movies that you guys have screened, because that puts you in a bad spot. But just some of your favorite, like, underground weird movies. There could be some you screen.
Actually, right now, Video Diary. What was it called?
The Diary of a Video. What is it? What the heck is it called? Now you got me on a thing.
We've gone screened so many movies. Okay, what I like about this one, I'm gonna get Video Diary. Is her coloring video Diary of a Lost Girl. Have you heard of that one?
No, I've not heard of this.
Oh wow, yeah, you gotta see this one.
Yeah,
It's free. I think we posted it like not long ago because she's part of Lindsay Denningberg. She's doing something with one of the video challenges right now for being in lockdown. Well, it's very colorful, and she's that's one thing that attracts me to a movie are the colors. Like Suspiria, the original Suspiria.
Yeah.
It was all the coloring and the lighting that was used and stuff.
Really, that movie's not necessarily really about the plot. It's about the atmosphere. The original one, yeah.
I still haven't seen the remake.
I actually really liked the remake. I went in like thinking like, why would you remake it? Because it really isn't like a plot-driven movie. So they did something really different with the remake. So I really liked, and I'm someone who likes the original, so I would recommend it. I know my friend Tris doesn't watch it either because the original is one of her favorites, but I recommend it. She check it out.
Yeah, I heard it was really good, and this is from diehard like horror fans, and you know I have not heard a complaint about it at all.
Yeah, I know some people say it's boring, but I mean, unless something really is boring. I'm not bothered by a long movie. I mean, or slow paced or anything, as long as it's good. It wasn't boring to me, is what I'm saying. If you have a short attention span, maybe it is.
Yeah, it would probably be hard. I don't know.
But I assume people go to festivals or put together festivals aren't going to be bothered by a short attention span.
I wouldn't think so. Because I don't know, like we show a lot of experimental films.
Yeah.
I don't think we've shown as many recently because since being at the Alamo Draft House. But before that, we showed a ton of experimental films, and with the experimental films, there's some that can, you know, go on like 3-4 hours long.
Yeah, which I know that's hard. That's also hard to just have at the festivals because it takes up, you know, that takes up 2 movies time or, you know, 20 shorts or whatever, which I know some people don't think about when they're putting their movie at a festival, but the runtime I think does affect a lot, just scheduling it, you know. So maybe that's just a little advice. Maybe you could cut your movie down for people who are having a hard time at the festivals because it might not be they don't like it, it just doesn't fit in the schedule because of the length.
I know that has been a thing that we've had to take a careful look at in recent. The reason we were able to show things more so where we had 2 or 3, even 4 different venues that we would be screening things because we would have like a bar, then we would have like the art center would have 2 rooms that we were able to, you know, screen, you know, these longer pieces. And we were able to challenge more of the audiences. I think it's just because of time, I guess. Like one of the most recent movies that we were able to screen that was in a longer form was, I think, was it this past festival? Ninja Badass, I think. That kind of, that pushed the envelope as far as what we, you know, I mean, 2 hours and we started going in. Plus that, I mean, you got to think in terms of Q&A and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. That, you know, we'd have to make definitely a lot of, you know, think of what happens earlier in the schedule and then make adjustments that way.
Yeah, I thought about that specifically when he mentioned it. He had a hard time getting it at the festivals because I think it's a movie that would really do well at festivals because it's very fun and interact. You know, it's a movie you can really interact with and it's crazy and appeal to people. But I do think that the runtime, it doesn't bother me when I'm just watching it because it doesn't lag or anything. But I think just scheduling, you know, I think it's over 2 hours movie, just schedule wise, it's hard to do.
Yeah, it was such a fun movie to watch.
Oh yeah,
like when we were.
It was honestly my favorite time at the festival was watching that. I mean, I loved a lot of the movies, but if I had to pick one, I probably had the most fun watching that one.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun, and I was just thinking, I don't know, maybe it was the time that other festivals hadn't picked it up, but it didn't seem like it took so long to get through, you know, because of all the action that was happening.
Oh yeah, you don't think of it as a 2 hour movie where you're watching it.
Mm-hmm. And
And sometimes a movie like that with a lot of craziness can like run its course. Like if you're watching a longer version, it's like it maybe would play better for 70 minutes or something because it's so much, weirdness. But I didn't feel that way at all watching Ninja Badass. I should have brought my card because I have it up in my room, the Ninja Badass card.
And also, I mean, I hope other I haven't heard anything. I haven't seen anything if this film got picked up, but I hope it does because it's, I don't know, like I said, it's a lot of fun.
It is, yeah. And you could tell everyone really had fun making it, which it really comes through in the movie.
Yeah.
That's a perfect movie for a festival because I think it doesn't really fit into any genre. So the film like stuff that's, I think the film festivals with underground in them are always my favorite because you never know what you're going to see. You're going to see some, it might be just a straight horror movie. It might be something like Ninja Badass because I don't know where that fits in like genre wise, which doesn't bother me as a viewer, but I just know if you have a straight up horror festival, they might not, run it. Or a rom-com festival, which I don't know. Hopefully there aren't any, but
no, that has always been my thing about the way we've been able to present films is that I like that we're able to screen, across, all kinds of genres, some non-genres and all that kind of stuff. And I think that, sometimes you find these, quirky films that when we wrap them in, other things by itself, it might not work. People are like questioning, well, where does that fit? But when we put some of these blocks together, we're able to squeeze some of these other films and they fit nicely. We're just on the surface. You're like, wait a minute, I don't see how that film's going to work. You're going to squeeze an animation, this with this and that and the other. And then they kind of all play together. And I don't know, maybe that's just something that's unique.
I like that about South Texas Underground Film Festival. And some of the people, I remember Josh Stifter said the same thing, and some other people I knew. And because I've not been to a million, but I've been to several, and there's something about movies playing well together. It's like I always use the thing that like a mixtape, which I know younger people don't know what the hell that means, but but you want something to flow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
even if you liked everything, they might not play together.
Yeah, and then I don't know. I think the whole thing about the festival is, and the reason why we created it was to also give the people who don't have a voice. The unheard, the unseen. We showed, like this year, we showed The Whistle, and you and Michael were sitting in front of us and stuff. And that's the one about the lesbians in New Mexico using the whistle to identify or to call each other and stuff like that. And that I thought was, I really loved that.
I did too.
And so I don't know,
it was something I didn't know anything about either, which was
what, The Whistle?
Yeah, I know lesbians, but I didn't know the whistle thing. But yeah, it was
no, and to me that's the unique thing about, I think, what the different documentaries in that block where you were able to explore maybe some different things from, you're walking away with maybe something that you're more insightful about now. And I think that's I guess that's the thing that we try to find. We try to find something, unique about, some of those films sometimes. And it plays out, sometimes like that. I don't know. We're really proud of, there's so many films that we'd want to show. And we hope that we're picking, the truly unique ones that they touch us a lot, and we're hoping that everybody walks away and that they're still talking about them. We're like, 6 months, almost 6 months later, and everybody's still talking about some of these films and remembering those moments and stuff like that.
And it's stuff that I guess we've shown, it still starts conversations, like, hey, remember whenever we saw this, and or I don't know, like Daniel and Claudia, they're experimental filmmakers, and we've shown a lot of their work. And you know, like Josh and Brooke, you know, everyone. Somehow we talk about the screenings that we've had, and we'll bring up like their films because it's very stylized and very like Savage Witches. It is very colorful, and it just, I don't know. I guess I'm rambling.
No,
But,
I think.
I don't know. We just hope to start conversations with people, and just because people didn't get picked for the festival doesn't mean that we didn't like it. Like Tennessee Gothic, you know, we wanted to show it, but it was a feature film, and there was other feature films that hadn't even been screened yet, and I felt so bad that we couldn't, you know, program it because we really like this filmmaker, and it came down to the fact that he had it available online and to purchase and stuff. And you know, I know that there's other film festivals showing it, and I'm glad that there's film festivals that are, you know, showing Tennessee Gothic and stuff. And then like clickbait. You know, I felt really bad that we didn't show that at. When did they submit, Rob?
Probably
Not
last
this
year, I think.
Yeah, the year prior. The year prior. And I think what happened was that it was in our, like, it always happens. We get into this, like, where we have 10 films that we're kind of picking through and sorting through and trying to figure out, you know, who's making 2 spots or 1 spot. And we have this magical 10 films that we're like so deeply wanting to program or squeeze in there somehow. Hey, well, what if we shorten the Q&As by this much? And they're already this short. How can we do that? We're trying. And it was also the first time we were screening at the Alamo Drafthouse. And we slowly, I mean, it was the first time we were screening at Alamo Drafthouse. We were finding out that we had to make accommodations because it was a different way that we were screening it. They had to clean, you know, the rooms a certain way. So we needed to add extra time. And I'm like, oh my goodness, we're going to go overtime. So we can't screen as much as I, you know, originally had thought we might be able to. And it just made it very difficult to find which 1 or 2 films were going to take up the last spot. And I remember just, you know, I was talking to my Mariella, you know, she was like, did they ever submit that? I go, yeah, they did. And I said, that was one of those difficult cuts that we had at the very, very end of the festival. And we already had extended our announcement date, which kind of got a lot of people frazzled because they were like, what's going on? You guys are supposed to announce everything. And, you know, we're getting information from Drafthouse that, well, you guys actually have this much time to screen. And we're like, oh, crap. So, you know, we had to make some difficult cuts, and it hurts doing those because we fall in love with a lot of the films. The fact that our film festival happens in January, usually the films have gone through their own cycles where sometimes they're ready to distribute or they already got something in place that by the time they start streaming, they're either getting released prior or right around that time, and it gets, you know, that's not to tell them not to distribute the film, you know?
And the thing also, our audience is they're the type of people that are going to go and see if they can find it online. And if they can find it online, they're not going to go to the festival to see it because they've already seen it. And we've been told that before. Why we already saw this. Why are you showing it on, you know, because we saw it in Victoria. Why are you screening it over here? So, you know, we have to be able to pick the movies that, you know, the audience, I guess, is going to love the way we love the movies. And also, I mean, just to make sure that I don't know, we're going to surprise them with what we show. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, it's an unfortunate thing but you have to also think about we have to bring people in. You know what I mean? It's not just where you're not just showing the movies for yourself.
Yeah, it gets to that weird thing where, we've had filmmakers that, they come down and they're like, they're either part of a festival and they're like, no, we don't care if the film's online. I'm like, well, that's, I'm glad that's that way up there. But here it's like, they go, I've seen this, and this was like in the early days. And we're like, oh, crap. I'm like, well, I didn't know all those films were,
right.
And, when we end up picking some of those films, a lot can happen. Because usually we pick films at least, about 2 months prior to our screening.
2.5, sometimes 3 months.
Yeah, and sometimes
that's to give people a time to plan to come down, to give, because the closer to the date and you purchase your airfare, the more expensive it gets. And
And then we end up in those situations where, and it sometimes falls in line with somebody they got accepted in the festival, but they're not coming, and they're like, oh yeah, my film's going to come out like the week before we screen at your thing, and can you hold it off? And they're like, no, it's already ready to go. And oh, okay, it's just I don't know. That was another reasoning that we were trying to get back into like the August cycle, because then we can kind of move it a little bit more so and be in the cycle while, it's screening at various different festivals. COVID has definitely changed a little bit of the game field, at least for this year. But, we want to see what we can do for next year and maybe try that again. And, hopefully everything's a little bit better and we can try to again in an August setting. I don't know. We'll have to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
I was going to mention that you mentioned what kind of movies, Mariella had mentioned that she likes movies with all these colors and stuff like that. When I was younger, I would visit video stores all the time. I was always going to the video store. Our video store was a photomat / video store that had, I guess it was Dollar Day, like during like Wednesdays or Tuesdays or Thursdays, whatever it was.
Yeah, mine had a similar thing. So.
Yeah, I would get a stack of films in the summer.
I think it was
like
Tuesday. Now you mentioned it.
Yeah, go first thing in the morning before they were open, find the film, and they would have like one copy of all the films. So it wasn't like 5 versions or whatever. So if you wanted to see Back to the Future, you had to like stay and hunt, and you would hear them drop through the thing and go, "Hey, was that a copy of Back to the Future that came back?" And you'd be hanging out waiting for that, whatever that was, that one copy. So to fill up the other things, this crazy video store that I would go to, this is the way I would find out all these other films. We would watch like Mondo Magic. Are you familiar with those
I've
crazy?
Heard of it, but yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, they're these weird documentary that show like the crazy things that happen in all these different countries. That how they were checking that stuff out to us, I have no idea. We were all these kids and we're checking out all this stuff. The Faces of Death movies, the I don't know, just anything off the wall.
Yeah. My mom signed a thing at our video store that said that I was allowed to rent whatever I wanted, but they still wouldn't let me NC-17. Not that I was really like doing that, but I could rent any R-rated movie.
No Henry and June for you or anything that nature. I remember in ours it had the gate poster. Isn't that the one where it said no one under a certain age? The gate poster or something like that. It had something like on the bottom. They didn't like at a certain age was not allowed to watch that film. And they had all those posters up. I remember one instance where we checked out Life Force. I'm
a big fan of Life Force.
Yeah. Well, we were all these guys, and we checked this out, and we bring it home, and we start watching it. Unfortunately, my mom hadn't left to the bingo. So here she comes and turns the corner, and we're all watching this naked lady walking all over the place. What are you guys? What the video store? I can't believe they gave us the wrong movie. We just went into this whole tirade that they checked us out the wrong movie. Mom, I can't believe it, Mom. You need to take me right now to the video store before you go to the bingo. We need to change this movie out. Yeah, it was this big fiasco. We had to, she caught us. We definitely weren't supposed to watch that one at the time, but I don't know. But I mean, we would watch a little bit of everything. I was like, even at that age, I was in junior high and high school. I was the curator or the programmer for my friends' films. I would look for maybe a comedy, a cult classic. Sometimes we'd go with a Western, something. We'd say, hey, well, let's get something black and white. Well, I started stumbling across films because they had a copy of Strangers in Paradise and these movies that started having these little laurels on them. And so I used to say, hey, I got some festival movies. And my friends were like, what is that? I don't want to go get, Back to the Future or something like that. But I started introducing them to, more of the festival films. And it started getting to the point that the following weeks as we were watching films, hey, where's the next film with the laurel things on there or whatever? And they started getting open to the idea of watching some of these, like With Neal and I, and some of these more, what is it? What the hell is it called? Metropolitan, and all these weird movies that would play like festivals around, and I guess our video store liked it because at least somebody checked it out.
Run it, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, we made our money back. I don't know. Those movies were real expensive back in the day.
Oh yeah.
But, yeah.
They were like $90 or something, but yeah.
Yeah, crazy. But no, and that way, I mean, we were always checking something a little bit, different at the video store. Something recent, something old, something, all that.
Yeah, the one I went to all the time was a family owned, and I went to school with one of the sons, Knapp family. And every month they'd put out their calendar because they'd have all these different days. And so I'd always get the calendar. Like Wednesday would be joke day. And then if it was month report cards came out, like if you brought in a report card, you get a free rental if you had an A and all these different things. And they really made it fun. And I remember when Blockbuster came in, they went to the family and they just told them, like, well, you can either sell out to us or we're going to put you out of business.
Wow.
And so they sold, but that's why I don't miss Blockbuster or have any because they're the ones that really put out. People say Netflix, but it was really Blockbuster that put out all the mom and pop beach video rental stores out of business.
Yeah, you gotta support those mom and pops.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But yeah, I definitely miss those.
Yeah. No, I mean, there were some that tried to battle it out. They would get the more obscure. The only place I could find Orgasmo was in this Asian video star in, and as soon as I saw it and I watched it, I called them up and I'm like, yeah, how can I buy this movie? And I don't want to pay $90 for this thing, but I have to have this movie.
Yeah.
Let's see more people rent it first, and then maybe we'll sell it to you. It stayed in the same shelf the whole time. I said, look, dudes, just sell me the movie. I want this movie.
Yeah.
It just crazy stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember getting a Bad Taste and Dead Alive, and like I think they had one copy of each because it's not like a big, especially Bad Taste is probably even more of an obscure rental. Like at least Dead Alive is like a weird zombie movie, so this probably appeals to some people. But and it does weird. I didn't think too much of it at the time, but now I do think like, well, why did they get some of these very strange movies that probably no one else was renting but me? But I'm glad they did.
Oh yeah, I think that to me that was the thing that we would stumble across some of these films, and the next thing you know, it's like you recheck it out. You're inviting several of your friends to, like, oh my gosh, you guys got to check this film out. And next thing you know, everybody in town is all of a sudden demanding this movie. Yeah, there was some crazy stuff about being able to do that. I remember my brother. Pulp Fiction was released on Laserdisc in Japan before it ever hit the United States from live on video or anything like that. So we had the Japanese Laserdisc of Pulp Fiction before it was even released in domestic. And we made one copy, and everybody wanted to borrow that thing. It was just, you know, reliving that film over and over. That film was such an impact. It was it was just at that time of I don't know. I guess everything was kind of changing in the video markets and the way films were being distributed and all that kind of stuff during that time.
It really made its own genre movie because then everyone was copying that afterwards too. It became you know, its style of film.
Most definitely.
But I used to have a neighbor, Howard, who actually lived in Texas in the winter, and then he would come here in the summer on the Cape, and he would go around and buy, because this was right when the VH stores were starting to go out of business, and he would buy all the tapes. And like, I don't know why, because he had like literally thousands of movies, and I never used this old guy, and I'd go over and help him sort through the movies, and then he'd let me take a couple and stuff. But I always wondered, like, why do you keep buying these? Because he just had his whole basement filled with them. I don't know what what he thought he was gonna ever do with them, or if he was gonna watch like all these thousands of movies. I don't know whatever happened to him because he passed away. But.
Oh man, I wonder what happened to all those movies.
Yeah, probably whoever came in just threw them away, or I don't know, which is unfortunate. Because
I
remember a few years ago I tried to give away some of my VHS, like donate them, and no place would take them. I tried to donate them to the library; they wouldn't take them. I tried to donate them to the nursing homes. I thought, well, you know, the people at the nursing home could watch them. They're like, no, we only take DVDs and Blu-rays. And it's like,
wow.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know, and the thing is that there are some VCR tapes or VHS and some betas that those versions you can't find some of those versions at all. I mean, if you want Star Wars, if you want that,
like the original,
the uncut, the original uncut Star Wars, you're either getting that old Japanese Laserdisc, or you're getting, you know, some VHS tape that
where hand shoots first, and
yeah. It just, you know, and there's other films that, you know, either never made the transition or they just died out on VHS. They just weren't popular enough. There was a movie called Running Scared. I don't know.
I know that
when I say that, everybody thinks of Billy Crystal and Gregory Hines. But there was another version with Judge Reinhold and Ken Wall called Running Scared. And they're like, I think it's in Florida or the Keys or whatever. And they're on the run because, and it had the same title. So when Billy Crystal's film came out, because I used to watch that one on HBO all the time. And it said Running Scared. And I was like, Running Scared? I go, that's already been released. What are they doing? And then I saw it was Billy Crystal and stuff. And I'm like, what happens when that happens? This other movie disappears or what? I don't know. There were a lot of crazy movies that, you know, that I used to watch. I mean, eventually they pop up either on Amazon Prime or they're still available on DVD. But the transition to even get into Blu-ray, sometimes they're not even available. Some of these older films.
Yes. I think the name of the movie is Where the Buffalo Roam. It's the guy who wrote Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, but it's like the first movie version of one of his films. I think Bill Murray's in it.
Bill Murray, Bill Murray.
Yeah. And it's only on VHS. I had the VHS, but I don't think it ever was released any other format.
Yeah, see, and it's things like that. There's a movie called Fade to Black that it eventually made it into it was a DVD, but it was on one of those dual DVDs, you know, with another film. But you know, it never made it to the transition, I believe, in Blu-ray. It just stayed in that limbo land, and it's a Dennis Christopher film. I don't know if you've seen it, where he basically he works in a movie studio as a delivery guy for the film. And he's obsessed with Hollywood. So he dresses up like Hollywood characters and starts killing people to get revenge. So he'll dress up like Marilyn Monroe. He'll dress up like James Cagney, one of the Universal monsters. And then he plays all these characters. And that's actually Mickey Rourke's first movie.
Oh, wow. I've not seen that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's called Fade to Black. It's I'm trying to think. It might be like YouTube, pieced out to there or something like that. But I don't think it's ever been released on Blu-ray, and I don't think it streams. But it's just one of those kind of films that I remember. I own it.
Yeah.
And when I looked up the price, I found out that DVD that I thought wasn't worth anything. People pay $50 to $70 just to get a copy of that because that's the only way you can get that film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy. I was trying to think. There's a few other ones. I should put them on the bookshelf because I have some because I wasn't trying to donate all of them. I kept ones that I knew like you couldn't get anywhere or just was cool to me. Like I have a Creep Show. I should put that up there too because it was the first VHS my mom bought me. So I always the tape actually doesn't work anymore. It broke because I played it so much, but it's in the cool clamshell. So I always kept that.
That's what I was going to ask if it's in that clamshell. Those clamshells from what is it, Warner Brothers or what? I don't know what companies. They all had their own. Yeah, like
this is Warner.
Yeah, what's that?
Yeah,
one
both
there?
these are Warner. Yeah, lots also Warner.
Yeah, and some of those companies like the Disney clamshells and those, they all had, some unique packaging of some sort. It's just like the album. Vinyl had a thing that when it all started shrinking down to CDs, you started losing something from those big albums that we would like look at the covers and read the lyrics or maybe the additional artwork that was inside or the sleeves or whatever. It was all part of the packaging. It was all part of the escape. Since we didn't, there wasn't like lots of music videos or whatever like they are now. Or well, not now, but like
but were, yeah.
Yeah, they're all gone still. I don't even know what's going on. But yeah, it just it was part of the thing. I see these. I'm pretty sure you ran across them. They're these retro movies that they look like they're packaged in clamshells and all this kind of stuff. They're kind of make them look that same way.
Some of them do even put them out in on VHS in clamshells.
Oh wow!
I think Hanukkah did came out recently, and probably a couple other ones, but it's always like a limited release, I designed the cover for one for the Lich from James Balsamo, which I was very happy about.
Nice, very cool.
Yeah, which it's cool. Especially just to put on your bookshelf or whatever. But I was thinking about doing. Well, I'm going to do at some point is a music video festival because I play a lot of independent music on the show, and a lot of the bands have really cool music videos, but they're just kind of on YouTube or Vimeo or something. And I thought it'd be cool to do like a watch party with a whole bunch of them for one night. If people,
that'd be sweet.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know I'd be into it. So. Yeah.
I know we did some challenges. It just seemed like we thought, it'd be great to document the bands at that particular time. And we matched up, like we put in a hat, we put like all the band names and we got a list of directors and they would basically draw into the hat and pull out a band and then they're off to the races. They go off and make a music video of sorts. And then everybody at the end of the thing, we would have either 10 to 15 to even 20 music videos for bands that never even had anything. And if anything, it would be a great way to document the music scene at that particular time as it was, thinking back on that, there's like maybe in our first incarnation of that challenge, there might be only 2 bands or even one band that even is in existence from that time. Then we did it again, and I think we did it opposite, where the band would like pull the director's name out and just to flip flop it. And I don't know, it's just to us it was like, if you're part of the music scene and stuff like that, bands come and go, but we thought it would be a unique way of documenting bands at a certain time.
Yeah, definitely.
And it would be a creative outlet for the filmmakers to
I just saw Elvis go by, and Elvis knows way more about music than I do, which was
Elvis, come here.
I was very impressed. I remember he was asking bands with Michael in the car that one night.
Oh yeah,
he's like, have you seen this band? I was like, I don't even know these bands, but him and Michael they knew them all.
Yeah, he's he definitely he takes a piece of all of that. I mean, we love music. We're always listening to all different kinds of stuff, and of course, through that, he's now exploring his own type of music that he likes and getting his own tastes. And of course, when it comes to films as well, and he's always wanting to dabble into videoing and all that kind of stuff. So he's still exploring his artistic sides as well. So he's definitely a character for sure.
Yeah. And Mariella, did you ever finish any of the Warhammer figures you were painting? Or going to
No, I haven't finished. It's very expensive to keep up with.
Yes, it is. It is. Even when they went to play, they used to be pewter, then they went to plastic, which you think would make them cheaper, but I don't think they ever lowered the price on them.
Oh, I think they went up.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
So they're still sitting there.
Yeah.
So
all these, they put out so many cool board games like the Big Trouble in Little China here.
Yep.
I only get them because I get them gifted to me from Jason Mitten for my birthday. But if I was a kid and they would have had all these games, I would have been just like in heaven. I'm like, wow, Big Trouble in Little China board game or the Thing board game. That's a great. I have not played Big Trouble in Little China, but the Thing is a great board game. I don't know if you've ever played it.
That's a game I regret I not picking up. And I remember seeing it had half price books.
Oh, really?
They had 2 or 3 copies of it. And I kept saying, you know what? I'm going to go back and get it. I'm going to wait for that magic coupon that says 50% off.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go back. And somebody else was thinking the same thing and picked up the game. And now I see how much the game goes for. And I'm like,
oh, I didn't even know that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because they're limited edition, the price has definitely gone up. And
because someone was mad at me on a video. I opened this because I had it sealed. I opened it on video, and I was like, let's see what this looks like. And they're like, don't open it. Don't open it. But, I mean, I do intend to play it at some point. So.
Yeah. When we were kids, TSR made the Escape from New York game.
Oh, really? I don't remember that.
Yeah, we had that one. And I don't know if we were playing the game right, but it felt right the way we were playing it. You had to get the tape. You had to get the president, and you had to get him out of New York, and you roll it. It's, rolling the dice, and you're doing all that kind of stuff. But it was pretty cool. I mean, I don't know if my brothers still have the game. One of them might have, the remnants of the game. But I mean, I remember when we saw it at the hobby store, and we just looked up on the wall, and it said Escape from New York, and we're like, oh yeah, we got to get this thing.
That's awesome. If I would have ever seen it, I definitely would have got it.
Yeah.
The Thing board game, we played it actually at Dallas, Texas Frightmare, and it's a really cool game because one of you or more of you, possibly one of you, is the Thing, but only you know that. And then as the game progresses, more people can become the Thing. And so it really actually builds like suspense in the game and paranoia, like if you're fellow players of the Thing. And then like it encourages you to like kind of lie in the game because if you are the Thing, you try to sabotage everybody.
Oh, wow.
And you can actually kill the other players. So we were playing it and it was me, Jason, his friend Jeff, and Rita. And we all thought Rita was the Thing for some reason. So we all voted to burn her alive with the flamethrower. And then it turned out she wasn't. And like, even though this was like years ago and it's just a game, I like feel guilty because like we burnt this woman alive in a game with the flamethrower. And she was totally fine. She's just a human, but it's a pretty wild game. It's really well thought out.
We did open up. We have the Monster cereal game. We attempted to play with my friend Solomon. I think Solomon got frustrated with us because we were taking too long to figure out.
I actually haven't opened that one yet either. But I like that it's not even just the 3 main cereal people that everyone know. It's they also have the Fruit Brood and the Yummy Mummy.
Yep.
Which I know they re-released not too long ago, but
yeah. Yeah, they were a couple of years ago. I did remember seeing those pop up at the store, and I was surprised that they brought those 2 out. Usually they kind of just, throw those guys away or whatever. Yeah. But it was cool seeing those guys back on the store shelves there for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. But when I said it, if I was a kid and these games come out, but I assume probably the people making these games now are my age or our age. So it's like, hey, I grew up watching these things, and it would have been awesome if there was a board game for them. Let's make them now. They probably make board games for adults now because kids don't care about board games. They want to play video games.
Yeah, we used to do game night. We used to do a game night with the boys or with the kids. And I guess I don't know why we stopped. We should do it again. I don't know.
There's not enough time to do everything. I know how it goes.
Yeah, we have the Jaws game. We have D&D. We have
Twin Peaks?
Huh?
Did you say Twin Peaks?
D&D.
D&D. Oh, yeah. I grew up playing a big D&D fan. So, yeah.
Yeah, Robert and I are nerds. So.
I am as too, apparently, but yeah. Probably everyone watching this is, so it's all good. So where can people follow South Texas Underground Film Festival if they want more information?
Mariella? Oh, okay. You can go to the Facebook. You look up South Texas Underground Film, and you got it there. And if you want, we also are on Instagram, Twitter, and Film Freeway, and just type South Texas Underground Film Festival, or usually it's the name of whatever those entities are, and STUFTX, and that usually takes you to most of those places where we're still accepting submissions, are still being accepted for the film festival. There's some promotions that are going to go out since it's summer. We usually like to throw those specials and all that kind of stuff. Those will be popping up on our website. Actually, like the Facebook, we like to throw them out on there, and you'll see them occasionally on Instagram. And there'll be some codes in there that anybody can enter. But please follow our page on Facebook. We're always turning people on to what filmmakers are doing, films that we've screened before in the past that are becoming available for people to view. And, if you just want to be in touch of, the whole South Texas Underground film family, that's the best place. All the fun stuff happens there, and all the easiest ways to see some of the past films is through following us as well.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, I had a great time and stuff. It really is one of maybe my favorite convention I've been to. The convention itself and the people who put it on are fantastic people, and even showed me some good barbecue and some good tacos and good food. By the way, I don't know if it might be hard to see on here, but I see it. Pin on
it's awesome. I thank you again, Neal, for allowing us to be part of Severed Limbs and showing some of that artistic side of some of the work that we've been able to do. And it's a project that we spent quite some time on, and I'm glad that people were able to check that out, and hopefully we'll be able to screen it some other places, and then there'll be some other places that we can let them see the craziness of El Indio de Cotulla and all the craziness that goes on in Cotulla, Texas, for sure.
Yeah, I loved it, and everyone that I know saw it really dug it. So it'd be great if it got there to more people. And Quaranstein is out there as well. And as Robert said, go and check it out now, because we're not sure how long it will be out there.
Yeah. There's just follow Brian's page on Facebook and all that, because there more announcements will be coming out pretty soon, and all the filmmakers involved will definitely get the word out of where Quaranstein is going to go, and what's going to happen with the future of this monster that we've all created. Will run its course across the world. See what happens.
Very cool. All right. Well, it's very good to talk to you both, Mariella and Robert, and see you both.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I'm glad Mariella got everything working. So next time we do this, it'll be seamless.
Yes.
It probably still won't be, but it'll be quicker probably. I don't know. But so thanks everybody for watching, and we'll talk soon. And I always
All right.
feel guilty about this. To save this, I just have to hang up. So I'm going to hang up on you, but it's just because I have to save this. So.
Yeah, you got the master switch, brother.
All right. See you guys.
All right, take it easy.
Bye.